Hey everyone, Danielle Miller here, and I am so delighted that you're here today. So we're going to get started with the Are You in a Brand Identity Crisis webinar. I wanted to just pop in and say hello before we get started. I seem to have this uncanny ability to hold webinars when it is pouring down rain or thunderstorms or both. So I'm hoping that everything holds up okay technology-wise. So far, so good. So let's keep our fingers crossed. All right, let's get started with today's webinar. Alrighty, so you are here today for the Are You in a Brand Identity Crisis webinar. And I'm going to tell you in a moment what you're going to be learning about today. But first, I want to just say hello and welcome and thank you for being here. If you're joining me live, I want to first of all thank you for giving me some of your precious time and energy. I know in our information overload world today that taking some time to put some learning first, it can really fall to the wayside or the back burner as we're inundated with all this information. So I want to take the time to thank you for being here live today. I do appreciate it, and know that if you have any questions about your brand, I'm happy to stay and answer them for you at the end of the webinar. If you're watching this on the replay, thank you for making some time in your schedule for me to sit down and listen to this webinar and get some really good, solid information about your brand and branding. So let me show you around a little bit. There's just a few housekeeping items. You'll see that there's a chat feature in the webinar itself that you can post questions. And as I said before, I will get to those at the end of the webinar. I appreciate you posting those questions in there, and I'll stay on as long as you have questions. So if you've got them, if you want to wait till the end and put them in, just jot them down on a piece of paper so you have them handy. You can also private message me if you have a question that you would prefer not to have in the public chat room. Make sure that you have some paper, Post-its, your arm, the back of your hand, whatever you want to write on, and a writing utensil. Of course, I would love it if you were 100% dialed into this webinar. First of all, because I don't want you to miss any of the info that I'm going to share today. And two, I tend to talk rather quickly, so it can sometimes be a challenge to keep up with me. And again, don't worry, there's a replay available, so if you feel like you missed something, you can always go back and rewatch it. So get a beverage of your choice, settle in, and at the end of this webinar, I have a really special offer for you to help you get even more clarity on your brand identity. So let's dive in today. So on this training, here's what you're going to learn. You're going to learn the difference between brand and branding. And this is a huge mindset piece. When you get clear on this, it's going to make such a difference in your brand. And you're going to see when I explain the difference how really it makes so much sense, and where maybe your branding efforts have not been in alignment because of not understanding this difference. And that's not your fault, because what you don't know, right? 3 mistakes that I see a lot of service and creative entrepreneurs making with their brand. And again, this is an unknowing rather than, deliberately making these mistakes or getting misinformation. It's simply more that it's just a not knowing of what what makes more sense for your brand rather than what you're doing right now. You're also going to learn what makes up your unique brand identity. We all have one, and yours is just waiting to be uncovered. And you're also going to learn how to communicate that brand identity. There's a specific subgroup of entrepreneurs, and you are probably in one of these categories. And once you hear what these are, it's going to make so much more sense to you and how you are communicating your brand, your business, and your value. So that's what we're going to cover today. So if that's what you're here for, you are definitely in the right place. So let me tell you a little bit about me. What's my story? I started my business back in 2008 as a life coach, specializing in goal setting. And I chose goal setting because I come from a background in special education. And if you know anything about the special education process, goal setting is huge. And so I felt like I could really take those skills and help people in their life to get clarity around who they were and what they wanted and how they showed up. And let's go back one there. Got a little ahead of myself. So after some health challenges in 2009, I reached a moment really when I had to decide whether or not I actually had a business or a very expensive hobby. And for those of you listening to this, you may be in that position, you may have been in that position, or it may be something that is coming up for you. We are in such a unique position as solopreneurs in the online space to create and design these lifestyle businesses, these businesses that really revolve around who we are and the work that we do and the things that are most important to us. But a lot of times what happens is we get stuck in this information overload and in not valuing the work that we do, and it ends up being this very expensive hobby. And that's really where I was in 2009. And so when I reached that moment when I decided that, okay, enough was enough, and I really wanted to make this a business, I took a career coaching certification. And that's really when the light bulb went off for me around what it meant to really have a brand. And that one course was the catalyst for me to change the trajectory of my business and focus exclusively on women entrepreneurs and the brand framework and branding, and using the methodology that I use, that I have learned about and refined and honed in on over the last 10 years. So in that time, since 2010, I have written a best-selling book on branding called Smarty Pants Branding, the ultimate guide for women entrepreneurs to getting recognized, being remembered, and making more money in their business. That was something that had been on my bucket list for a very long time, and is one of the things that I am most proud of in my life that I have accomplished. And since I've gotten clear on my brand, I've had the opportunity to speak at national conferences alongside such brilliant women as Martha Stewart, Ariana Huffington, Sarah Blakely, and others. As you can see in that picture at the top, Kim Garst is up there. You may know her. Star Jones is in the center there. And last but not least, certainly most important, is that I've been able to craft a business around who I am, what I do best, my core values, which, as you can see, there are my family, and it allows me to continue and expand and grow into my best self. And that's really what I want for my clients as well. I want them to own who they are, show up and do their best work, and really embrace everything that they bring to the table, which, is you're going to learn, is really what having that resonant and aligned brand is all about. All right, so let's dive in. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to get clear on, we're going to start at the beginning, because that's really where all good stories start, right? There's a well-crafted beginning. And we're going to start with what a brand is exactly. And a brand is really a set of managed expectations around who you are and what you do. It is your reputation, your credibility, and not only your story, but how you tell that story that attracts your right tribe to you, or your community, however you want to describe your ideal audience. It's also how you think of yourself and how others perceive you, right? Because you set the expectation for how you want others to think of you. They say that your brand isn't what you say it is, but what others say it is. And I disagree with that, because I think ultimately you have the control of that. Now, what often happens is most entrepreneurs don't realize the power of their brand. And so they leave it up to chance, or they leave it as an afterthought. And then it becomes what other people say it is. But you always are in the position to change that. You're always in the position to take back the control of your brand and how you want to be perceived. And ultimately, it's the imprint that you leave behind. So imagine if you had walked into a networking conference and you walked up to a group of 25, 30 people and you started mingling and talking to them. And then you walked away and went to the next group. What would you want those people to say after you had walked away? What would you want that impression to be? And there's nothing fake or contrived about that. It's really about putting your best self forward and absolutely 100% knowing what you want your imprint to be. So that's really what a brand is. A brand is how you're perceived, how you want to be perceived, and how you set up those breadcrumbs for your ideal audience to follow. Now, here's something that's really, really key, really critical in getting brand clarity. And this is where I find a lot of times this brand identity crisis comes in. It's because there isn't a clear distinction between the idea of your brand and branding. And so here we go. Here is what a brand is. So think of it as this cupcake that you're making. And you've got all these ingredients and you assemble them together. And this is really, this is the cake. This is what holds everything together. And that's really what the essence of having a brand is. It is about your core values. It's about your why. It's about, and again, I want to be clear about this because this is another thing that trips up a lot of entrepreneurs around this why. We often have more than one why we do things, right? We have a why around our personal life, around why we want what we want, whether that's our family, to provide things for them, whether it is to have certain things in your life that you want, certain experiences. But there's also the why around your work. What is the difference that your work is going to make? Why is it important? And it's critical to get clear on that. I want to back up a second around your core values as well, because that's another piece that I find most entrepreneurs aren't looking at. And your core values are those 3 to 5 values that are non-negotiable for you. And here's where a lot of misalignment comes up, because when we're starting out a business, and I have been there myself, so I speak from personal experience, you get advice from a lot of people, whether it's a business coach, whether it's colleagues, whether it is friends or whoever, and they'll tell you what you should be doing. And so you try, a marketing strategy or a tactic or something, and it lands flat. And the reason it lands flat is because it has in some way violated your core values. Those 3 to 5 things that are the most important to you. So for myself, when I started out and I had a business coach and I invested in this very high-end mastermind, which I was not ready for, by the way, but there were a lot of marketing strategies that I was told to implement that would get me results. And I really struggled. I had a lot of resistance around it. And what I found out later, when I really understood the concept of brand, is that it really bumped up against one of my core values of integrity and authenticity and feeling like I was being honest with my audience. And so I really struggled with that, and had a lot of go-rounds with this particular coach that I had been working with. And eventually we had to dissolve the relationship because I just could not reconcile some of those things with what I knew to be true for myself. I hadn't articulated it, but it was one of those things that really held me back in my business for a couple of years until I learned exactly what my core values were and how I wanted them to show up. So everything that you do in your business can be measured against those core values. That's the one thing, if you do nothing else with your brand, is get clear on those top 3 to 5 core values and define them for yourself. So for me, integrity is very important. So I have to define what integrity looks like for me and how I want to operate within that value. So that is so important. Your brand is also about defining your brand experience. So this is from the very first touch point, the very first experience somebody has with you and your business, all the way to the end, all the way till you're finished working with them. What is that brand experience like? And really getting clear on those brand touch points along the way for your ideal audience. The other one is keeping your brand promise. First of all, articulating it and knowing what your brand promise is and keeping it consistently. And so a brand promise is the one thing that you can do consistently over and over again in your business. Whether that is superior customer service, whether that is responding to emails within 24 hours, whether that is having unusual hours to accommodate your clients, whether that is a care package that you offer to clients, whether that is, it could be any number of things, but is the one thing that you need to deliver on consistently over and over again. And then finally, you want to think about the feelings and emotions that you want to evoke in your ideal clients. How do you want them to feel after they have gone through this brand experience with you? What should be their expectations and feelings? So do you want them to feel confident? Do you want them to feel empowered? Do you want them to feel happier? Do you want them to feel healthier? Whatever that is, you get to decide that for your brand. So really getting clear on those feelings and emotions. Oh, there goes the dog barking. That is another piece of getting clear on your brand. Okay, so that's the brand, the cake, all those ingredients that go into that cupcake. The branding itself is the manifestation of your brand. So it's how your brand shows up. So those could be things like your tagline and your website and your colors and your fonts and your images, the logo, your brand voice. It's all the sexy stuff, right? The fun stuff about your brand. The brand itself may not be quite so fun and sexy, but it is so important. But the branding is really how your brand shows up on a daily basis. It is the visual and verbal identity of your brand. But that has to come after you get clear on the brand itself. And oftentimes what happens is, yikes, this is the first mistake. We put the cart or carriage before the horse, right? This isn't working at all. And that's what often happens with entrepreneurs is they get this beautiful website and they get somebody to write their copy and they do all of those things like naming their business and getting that tagline and looking at logos and figuring out what their logo is. And then something's not right. There's this misalignment somewhere. Their website doesn't really reflect who they are and the vibe that they want to have, and it's not attracting the clients that they want to be working with. And so they focus on all that really fun stuff, and the poor horse ends up behind and is pulling rather than, or is really trying to it's pulling backwards rather than going forward. So you want to make sure that you have the brand elements in place before you start the branding. And I have one other caveat about this, because here's another thing that's really important to realize about brand and branding. Your brand is going to grow and evolve as you do, right? You're going to have, as you do your work, it's going to continually refine. You're going to continually hone in on who your ideal clients are. What is your zone of genius around the work you do? And that's okay, right? It's not, you don't have to be this inflexible brand that you have the same brand for years and years. That's not going to keep you relevant, and it's not going to allow you to continue to grow and do your best work. But you want to get clear, where you are right now and where you'd like to go, and have your brand reflect those things. So once you've done that, I have a little bit of a story here for you. So speaking of putting the cart before the horse, I had a client I worked with. Her name is Amy, and she is, this was her website before, very neutral. She obviously, it looks like she's a bookkeeper. She does bookkeeping and accounting and QuickBooks training on here and payroll. And she has innovative solutions for your business. But we don't really know anything about Amy per se, right? We don't know who she is, really what she stands for, what her core values are, what's her philosophy, anything about her story. This is a very safe, predictable online presence. And it's just like most every other bookkeeper out there. So Amy had this in place when she came to work with me, and she really wasn't happy with it. She knew it didn't really reflect the work that she did. So we worked together on her brand over a period of about 2 months. And afterwards, and this is just one piece of her website, but what we found out is Amy is a rock star. Not only is she a rock star, but she has rock star clients. And so we wanted to make sure that that vibe was represented. She's like the backstage manager for her clients who are online entrepreneurs, right? So less worry, more awesome. We've got your back. Meet the band. That's her team. Crank it to 11. They fuss with the nuts and bolts so that you can focus on doing what you do best. And she has the systems and processes in place to go from GarageBand to multi-platinum with Rock Your Profit, right? So we took what she loves. She's the before. Let me go back and show you real quick, because it doesn't represent who she is at all. This fun, edgy, quirky, wonderful, smart, funny woman who wants to make the numbers less stressful for you, who knows how to put the systems and processes in place, and who believes that her clients are rock stars. And she loves music. I mean, she has a son named after a guitar, so music is very important to her. She sees so many local bands, so we wanted to incorporate her personality into her brand, and it worked beautifully. This is infused through every component of her brand, and it fits her to a T, and she loves it, and she's comfortable, talking with prospective clients, and with the clients she has clients that she loves because they get this vibe. This makes sense to them, and that's what your brand should be about. That's what your brand should be about. So the next piece about, here's mistake number 2 that happens oftentimes, is knowing who you're talking to in your business. I have a dog just whining in the background today. I'm not sure what her issue is. So it's not, and you've probably done this. You've probably done this in your business. You've created this client avatar. And you've looked at demographics, and so you've looked at things like age and gender and occupation, and married or single, or living in the city or rural, that kind of thing. And you've done those pieces. But here's where it falls down, because your client is not an avatar. She is a real person, and that's what you need to focus on. So when you're looking and you're thinking about your ideal client, and you're thinking about who you most want to work with, it's so important to know her journey, right? How does she feel right now? And how does she want to feel? Do you know those emotions that she's having? How does she describe her challenges in her language? See, this is another area too where we get so confused as entrepreneurs, because we're taught to talk in the client's language. but then it doesn't feel like us. So where is that sweet spot? Where's that happy medium? And there is one. So you want to know how she describes her challenges. What does she need? So these are the features of your brand, right? What she needs, but what she wants are the benefits and results that you get. And that's what you want to be talking about with your ideal clients. She does not care about your methodology or your framework. What she cares about is that you have gotten her out of stress or overwhelm or frustration or whatever it is that she's feeling, and you've moved her to a different place. And that's what attracts your ideal clients to you. And so it's so important, when you get those dream clients that you cannot wait to get on the phone with, what is it about them that makes them your dream clients? What characteristics do they have? What traits do they have? What qualities do they have that make them so wonderful to work with? That's where you want to focus. And that's who you should be writing to in your copy. That's who your brand vibe and brand identity should be geared to, because it allows you to be yourself and do your best work, right? Because there's this synchronicity in having those dream clients and you being you. It all works together. But what often happens for those in the service-based businesses, the creative entrepreneurs, is that they get stuck in these demographics, or they get stuck in being a generalist and not being a specialist because they're afraid to leave anybody out. But you're not going to. You're still going to attract other people to you, whether you know that or not. But by you really honing in on who that dream client is, it's going to open everything up for you. And here's something that's so, so important. You have to rock your quirks. You have to own who you are. This is the other thing that I see that happens so often. This is a mistake that creative, heart-based entrepreneurs make because they want to have that successful business so badly, and they want to do what it will take to get there. And so they, this is nothing against business coaches, believe me, because I have a really great one myself. But oftentimes what happens is you'll get advice to do a certain thing in your business or to be a certain way in your business, and it's not really who you are. So you ultimately are the expert of you and your business, and nobody should be telling you that they're the expert of you and your business, because they're not. And this is another place, again, this is this mistake number 3 that I see happening so often, and where we get stuck is because, we want to try that blueprint, that formula, that cookie cutter mold. We like that. We like that template that we can just kind of plug ourselves into, but we also don't want to be an imitation of somebody else, right? We want to be who we are. So there's those shoulds and expectations that we get caught up in a lot of times around our brand and our business. And, the trap of learning from someone and then trying to be or do exactly what that person is doing is that it falls flat. You see this all the time in the online space. If you're an online entrepreneur, the same type of programs come out, the same type of coaching packages, the same type of services are out there. And listen, information, there isn't any new information, but what brings the differentiation is you and how you approach it and your experiences and your story. That's what makes it unique and different. And you should not be stifling that to put yourself or fit yourself into somebody else's expectations, cookie cutter molds, formulas, templates. What you need to do is take that information that you're learning and figure out how it fits into your brand and your business. Maybe there's only one little piece of it that fits in there. Maybe there are several pieces that can be adjusted to fit your unique brand and your unique business. But trying to fit yourself into somebody else's mold never works. And your brand gets diluted, and people then don't know what to expect from you. They're confused, and they don't know exactly what it is that you offer that's different. So what is the key? The key to your brand identity. And it is really being able to own who you are. It's really being able to take your strengths, your gifts, your talents, own them, bring them to the table every day, and focus on what you are the best at. And focus on your story and how your brand experience is different from anybody else's out there. And here, you know, like I said, you are your brand. And this client, Amy, I recently worked with, you know, she said that the work that she did with me completely revolutionized how she thought of her brand, because it is as much about you as it is your business. And she said, do it, you won't look back, yay, which is awesome. So she just went through a major overhaul with her brand, because it didn't fit. She had a lot of elements in her brand that she was told to do, but didn't feel like they were really her, represented her or her business in a way that felt good and congruent and in alignment. So you know, you've got to own who you are. You have to own who you are. And here's what's really the cool thing. Here's how the methodology that I work with is a little different, because I use archetypes. And archetypes are an authentic, holistic, and natural way of being in business. They are imprinted stories that are in our subconscious that your ideal clients will naturally gravitate to. And this is not just woo-woo, because I consider myself a practical woo-woo. I'm an alchemist, but they are grounded. Archetypes are grounded in psychology and intuition. Oh, there goes Bailey the Wonder Dog again. They are universal stories that appeal to us on like I said, it's a subconscious level. We're not even really sure. There are patterns. As human beings, we look for patterns. We look for things that make sense to our subconscious. And when we find those patterns that make sense to us, we gravitate towards them. And archetypes are the perfect complement to the left brain side of business and the marketing piece, because they are grounded in that intuition and psychology. So they're the perfect way to incorporate your marketing and who you really are into a business that feels really good. They are a way to shortcut meaning. And I hope that you have taken the brand identity quiz, because if you've done that, then you have learned what your leading archetype is. And you've gotten some information that should be really beneficial to you in getting clear on your brand identity. If you haven't downloaded the archetypal code guide that goes with the quiz, I highly recommend that you do that. It will give you lots of examples. It will give you insights into your brand voice and tone and how that shows up. And they will, it also talks about the challenges of your brand identity, your leading archetype. What can get in the way of you being visible and showing up and doing your best work? And each archetype has a different shadow that can be challenging for them. So, using myself again as an example, I'm an alchemist. And I struggled for a really long time with the marketing side of my business, because alchemists can be very persuasive and charismatic, and can be manipulative if they're not careful. They can really set themselves up to be sort of these guru type of people. And I had such a fear of that I went completely the opposite way and didn't market myself at all, or my business. And you know, that really hurt me for a long time, until I learned how to know my shadow and get comfortable with it and market myself in a way that I felt good, that was congruent with who I was. So what type of entrepreneur are you? So there, within the archetypes, there are 12 main archetypes that I work with. And within those archetypes, there are certain characteristics that they share. So if you are a networker, an angel, or a romantic, you have an innate gift of connection. Those archetypes are the connectors. They're all about community. They're all about connecting people with each other. They have a great empathy for being able to see everybody and wanting everyone to feel included. And so if that's you, then you definitely want to be talking about community building and being part of something bigger than yourself, and really stressing, that intimacy that you connectors have. If you're a creator, a sovereign, or a provocateur, you're an innovator and you are cutting edge. You are all about the next big thing. You're all about wanting to have a sense of purpose and a sense, we all want that sense of purpose, but it's really highly, highly developed in the innovator entrepreneur. They want to shake things up in a good way. They want you to see the possibilities and they want to help you live into your potential. If you're an individualist, such as a sage, a muse, or a seeker, these are really the information entrepreneurs. So you've probably got a ton of information, and you're constantly one of those entrepreneurs that are learning, always wanting to learn. And what you do best is you offer people a way to connect with information that makes sense for them. So the individualist archetypes are not really great at community building like the connectors are, but what they are really great at is delivering information, is being able to relate information in a way that helps it make sense for their ideal audience. They're also very, very good at helping others find their freedom within themselves. And then finally, the fourth type of entrepreneur are the catalysts. And these are the alchemists, the rebels, the heroines, and these are the visionary entrepreneurs. These are the inspirational entrepreneurs. These are the entrepreneurs that see the potential, the possibilities. They want to shake things up. They want you to step outside the status quo. They want you to live into your own power, and they want to help you do that. So knowing which type of entrepreneur you are can be so vital in helping you connect with your ideal clients, because you'll know how to talk to them. You'll know the language that's going to show up in your brand voice and the tone of voice that you use in connecting with your ideal audience. So knowing that and knowing your leading archetype are really the keys to getting clear on your brand identity and communicating that brand identity to your audience. So really, what can your brand do for you? Because at the end of the day, that's really what you want to know. So what does it really mean to have a brand, and what can it do for me? How can it help me? What is the bottom line of having a brand? Well, it helps you make better decisions in your business, right? When you get clear on your core values, when you get clear on your why, when you get clear on your ideal clients, when you get clear on what your brand promise is and your brand experience, you can make decisions so much easier. You'll know what's a good fit and what's not. You'll know who you want to work with and who you don't want to work with. You'll know what's right for your business. It showcases your strengths and gifts. When you learn your leading archetype and you embrace all that she is, it makes embracing your gifts and strengths so much more easy. It makes you more confident in what you have to offer. It gives you a platform. This is where you develop your message. This is where you differentiate yourself by your brand and how you're different from every other person in your field. It gives you a solid platform to build a business on. It is your rally cry. It's your credo. It's your message. Having a strong brand elevates perceived value. Think of it this way. Think of perhaps if you're looking for a business coach, what makes you gravitate towards one rather than another? Why can one business coach charge $10,000 and another one charges $1,000? It's because the one charging $10,000 has a really strong brand. And so that elevates the perceived value of what they have to offer. Having a brand gives your personality a shine, right? It's a chance to shine, right? I said this earlier. You get to rock your quirks. You get to be who you are. You can be professional without being corporate. You can be yourself without having to craft a persona or somebody trying to be somebody that you're not, because that's not what having a brand is at all. It also helps you escort the imposter out the door. That little inner critic that's inside of you that says, oh, you need to take another course. You need to take another certification. You need to, take this marketing program. You need to do this and that. You will build so much confidence in having a strong brand that you won't need to be listening to that inner critic and that imposter that's in your ear. And that is the power of a strong brand. And the crowd goes wild again. I worked a little bit with Jen McRobbie when she was writing her book. And, again, that's one of the most important things about a brand is having a clear direction, both for yourself and for your business, right? Because it's an integration. As a solopreneur, as somebody who is her business, you have to find a way for your brand to reflect both you as an individual and you as your business. And that's what Archetypes can do for you. That's what this framework can do. And so look at Jen, isn't she cute? So let's recap a little bit here. So your brand starts before your branding. It's so unsexy, I know, but it is vital. It is so vital. And actually, it can be kind of sexy because it's really kind of cool to get clear. Clarity and focus is sexy. You will know your client's journey when you get clear on your brand and your ideal audience. You'll know exactly every step of your client's journey, not only where she is and where she wants to go, but her journey with you and your work and how you can help her. You can use archetypes to rock your quirks and tell your stories. Remember, archetypes are a shortcut to meaning. They're an unconscious way of attracting the right people to you. You can communicate through your entrepreneurial type. Are you a catalyst? Are you an innovator? Where you fall in that subcategory can help you communicate your value to others, because you're automatically leaning into your gifts. And finally, the most important piece of this in branding is that you define success for yourself. You take that word success and you define it for you. What does it look like for you? It doesn't mean that that you have to have a 7-figure business, unless that's how you define success, and that's okay. But if success is, working with dream clients and having a life that revolves around you and your business and not just your business, and then your life is an afterthought, that's really what this is about. You getting a clear definition on how you define success for yourself. So how can you get clear on your brand? How can you go deeper into this work? I have a special offer for you, and you can go to daniellemmiller.com/30 days, 30 brands, And you will see that I'm offering a 2-hour brand ignition strategy session. So why am I doing this? Well, I have a couple different reasons why I'm doing this right now. These strategy sessions are 2 hours long. Now, in the past, I've offered brand infusion sessions that were 45 minutes to an hour. They have never been a big piece of my business, and they're going to be going away. I'm not going to be doing them anymore. In the fall, I'm restructuring my services and my offerings, and I'm not doing these short 1-hour sessions. So, but I wanted a way to kind of send them out with a hurrah. In addition to that, I'm going to be taking a little bit of time off come mid-September into October as I'm restructuring and redoing some things. So I wanted to help as many entrepreneurs as I could between now and then in the next 4 to 5 weeks. So in a 2-hour brand ignition session, you will learn how your leading and supporting archetypes work together. We do a more in-depth assessment of your leading archetype, and we also learn what your 2 supporting archetypes are. We'll get clear on your core brand essential elements, your why, your values, your brand promise, your mission, your vision. What does all of that mean, and how does it show up for your brand and your business? And we'll connect those, your brand, to your branding. So we'll look at your website. Are there gaps there? Is your website not really reflecting who you are and how you're showing up? And we'll close those gaps. We'll look at your copy. We'll look at the visual branding and see where that misalignment's occurring, and we'll close those gaps for you. So, like I said, I'm not going to be doing these sessions after September, and I wanted to offer as much value as I could. So I've increased the time to 2 hours, but the price stays the same. So the price for this 2-hour brand ignition strategy session is $499. And that's 2 solid hours of you and I looking at your brand and your business. And we will get clear. You'll be amazed at what we can accomplish in 2 hours. I just recently did a 3-hour. It's one of the things I'm kind of looking at is how I'm restructuring some of my services. But I did a 3-hour session with a client who had a very well-established brand. And for reasons, she's had to reinvent her brand from the ground up. And we did it in 3 hours. Now, there was a lot of behind-the-scenes work that I did in preparation for that, but the 3 hours she spent with me, we got a ton accomplished. And so I know in 2 hours I can help you get clarity on your brand and help you move forward and help you feel really good about the direction that your brand and your business is going in. So these sessions, I have 30, as it says there, 30 days, 30 brands. I already have 8 sessions that are taken, so there are 22 left. And what will happen is when you go to this link and you sign up, you'll get a thank you from me, and then I will personally email you with the link to my calendar, and you'll sign up. You'll fill out a client intake survey so that I have as much information on you as possible, and I do my research before we even meet, so I will know a lot about you before we even get together. And then we'll take that information and we'll work on your brand and transform it to what you want it to be, for you to clearly articulate your value and how you show up and what you offer. So I am so excited about this. I've never done this before. I don't know if I'm ever going to do it again, not for a while anyway. So I want to thank you so much for your time today. I do so appreciate you taking the time out of your day to spend with me. I hope that you got a ton of value out of this. I'm going to go back into the Q&A box and see if we've got, hey, there's Lisa. I see Lisa's in there. Awesome. All right, so questions, Q's and A's. Do we have any questions about your brand, branding, the branding framework? What does that look like? How does that show up for you? I always get a little, or like, I don't know if I should be glad or not when there are not any branding questions, because then I'm like, oh, well, I don't know. Nobody has a question. All right. So I'm going to go back to share this for a moment with you. Any questions that you're not clear around archetypes, around how to use them, what that looks like, brand identity questions, I'm here, I'm available, and I would love for you to throw some questions in the chat box if you have any. Let me put this back up here too. Let's get back here. All right. Okay, let me get back here so you got that link. Okay, so there you go. So yeah, 2 hours, you and me. Let's do this. Oh, no, you missed part of the event. Okay, well, that's good. That's fine, Lisa. You can catch the replay, no problem. The replay will be up and available to you. The email will go out for that. No worries. You'll be able to catch that, no problem. Oh, yes, yes. Okay, yeah, here's a good, so how do your leading archetypes and supporting archetypes work together? Okay, so that's a great question. Now, when you sign up for your 2-hour strategy session with me, you're going to already know your leading archetype. You've already taken the brand identity quiz. So what's going to happen is then when we get together, I will do a more in-depth assessment with you to learn your 2 supporting archetypes. I believe that every entrepreneur has a leading archetype and 2 very strong supporting archetype. In the work I've done, that's what I've seen over and over again. And so using myself as an example, I'm an alchemist and I have a very strong sage and creator supporting archetypes. So that means that I can call upon those supporting archetypes for different parts of my business. So for example, doing this webinar, my sage, got my sage all happy planning the webinar and doing the slides and writing everything out and getting everything together. My creator loved it because I got to put the presentation together and look for pictures and, the visual imagery. So I was able to, and then finally my alchemist is all happy because hopefully I'm affecting transformation and change. So you can see how the 3 of them worked really well together just to do this webinar. The 3 of them work together in my copy. The 3 of them work together in my visual imagery. And so that's really what's so powerful about archetypes, is that you can use them to really hone in on your brand identity, to really get clear on what you want your verbal brand identity to show up as and what you want your visual brand identity to show up as. It's really kind of hard to describe until you're in it and doing it. It's just an amazing methodology that I have seen entrepreneurs over and over again get so much clarity in their business on. And the thing about this is when you have this really clear brand identity, then you have the elements to create your brand style brief. So this is something that you'll use with whether or not you hire team members, whether you outsource work, whether or not you have VA that does some of your other work for you. They'll know exactly what your brand tone of voice is. They'll know exactly what your your visual brand identity is. All of those things will work together, and everybody will be on the same page with your brand. So as a heroine, oh, that's a great question. So as a heroine, what you need to focus on is the fact that you are an advocate. Okay, heroines are, without a doubt, big advocates for their clients, for their ideal audience. They love to take up a cause. They love to be the champion of the underdog. So for you, oh, let me grab my book here. So for you as a heroine, you're going to look for opportunities to make the process easier for your clients. How can you shortcut things for them? How can you help them with what you're really going to focus on their struggles? Because that's where you shine. That is where the heroine shines, with being able to help a client on their journey with their challenges. Heroines are very strong archetypes. So you will often find that your ideal clients will lean on you. You have the ability to provide that stability for them, that sense of, I've got somebody in my corner. I've got your back. That's a big credo for the heroine. I've got your back. You don't have to worry. I got this. So Lisa, does that help you at all? Because that's really where I would say you would need to start to focus. For your brand. Heroines are very, very strong. So focusing on that strength, that sense of advocacy, that sense of I got your back. You can count on me. That's a big, big, big quality of the heroine. You can count on me. I'm not going to let you down. Oh, a little confusing for you. Yeah, so I bet probably one of your supporting archetypes is a creator as well. So, yeah, it might not apply so much for you as a musician per se, other than, you might be, your heroine might, yeah, good. Okay, awesome. You're good. Yeah, it's kind of hard to, like, without getting in there and really, sitting down and talking with you and knowing exactly all the parts of what you're doing. But yeah, definitely for the coaching as a heroine, that's your wheelhouse right there. I got your back. I can help you with what you're struggling with. And yeah, I would say as a musician, probably if you're a musician, yeah, creator's really high for you. But again, without doing the assessment, I can't be positive of that. But yeah, but hopefully see, and that's the thing too, because with coaching, oftentimes coaches will take the perspective of the angel archetype, which is the helper, the caregiver, but not every coach fits that archetype. So with you, Lisa, taking that different perspective of being the heroine, and it's not necessarily that you're coming in to save the day for your clients, but you've got their back. They know they can count on you to support them. And they also know that they can count on you to tell them what they need to do to empower themselves. So hopefully that gives you some insight as well. So really, for you too, Lisa, is really putting your clients in the position of the heroine as well. So when you're relating your story, it will really resonate with them. That's what they aspire to. That's what they want, is to be the heroine of their own story. Great question. Great question. All right. Any other questions out there before we wrap it up for today? I know I wanted to keep it to an hour if we could, but I'm happy to answer more questions if there are any more out there. Alrighty, everybody. I'm not seeing any more questions, so we are gonna get ready to wrap it up today. So I want to thank you again so much for spending this time with me today. I know your time and energy are precious, and I appreciate so much you spending the day, or the day with me, the hour with me. I do appreciate it. And if you're catching this on the replay, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to this. I do appreciate you as well. I would love to help you with your brand. I would love to sit down and spend 2 hours with you on your business and your brand and help you get clarity around your brand identity and how that shows up. So you can go to daniellemiller.com/30, the number 30 days, 30 brands. And you can sign up for your intensive session, and we'll get clarity around your brand, you and your brand. So I feel like I need some coffee here. All right, let me just check one more time. Okay, very good. All right, no more questions. So we're going to wrap it up for today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'm looking forward to connecting with you on social media. You can connect with me really on any social media platform at Danielle M. Miller. My newest obsession is Periscope. So if you are interested in dipping your toe, if you haven't yet, you can connect with me at Danielle M. Miller. I usually scope every single day. And I can connect with you, and I would love to continue the conversation. So you have an awesome day. Thanks so much again, and I will talk with you soon. Take care.